Good morning, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mic with me, Mike Avery, here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. Here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show. And of course, you know I will tell you who's coming up on the show as this live stream continues. Thanks for joining me this morning. Glad to have you along with us. Paul, good morning, buddy. How are you? Well, where'd you go, Paul? Always a pleasure. I do appreciate it. Looking for there we go. Just want to make sure my nose isn't bleeding. Okay. This dry air, wintertime air from heating systems and furnaces, it's sometimes makes it bleed. Cliff, good morning. How are you? Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. On the first, this is the first Wednesday in February that we've had a chance to get together. Tommy, good morning. How are you, buddy? Hello, Mike. Mad Jack, good morning. How are you? Appreciate you being along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. I'm sick of winter. Uncle Johnny, big weekend. Big weekend for the fam, huh? Congrats on that, and you know what I'm talking about. Anybody else sick of winter here? It was 24 degrees yesterday, and it felt like I should put shorts on, T-shirt and shorts. That's how cold it's been. 24 degrees felt like it was a heat wave. Patrick, good morning. How are you? Appreciate you being along with us. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio. This is called Behind the Mic. Should be Behind the Mics, plural. This one, you can hear right now, my social media microphone. This one, my official broadcast microphone. Tony, good morning. Tony, I'm looking forward to talking with you on this week's radio show about crow hunting, but we should talk a little skinny water trolling too, don't you think? And I don't know about you, Tony, but I'm jonesing to get out there on open water, not ice, but I know, I've seen the videos, I talk to the people who are out on the ice in Saginaw Bay, and we've got a good, solid ice season for those folks who enjoy it. But I've also seen video of people trying to jump the crack with their quads, and that never turns out well, does it? Did somebody say roasted groundhog? Yeah, I hope so. Punxsutawney Phil said 6 more weeks of winter. You can't put any credence in what that big rat says. Jim, good morning, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Appreciate you joining us. Recording the show for the first full weekend of February. This is the first Wednesday we've had a chance to get together in February. Punxsutawney Phil says 6 more weeks of winter. The good news is, have you noticed how much longer the days are? We are certainly moving the right direction there, that's for sure. Saginaw Bay ice is just pretty darn good this year. It takes a certain amount of specialized equipment to get out there on Saginaw Bay in the wintertime. It's not, you might be able to walk out to get into some perch water or maybe some skinny water walleye. But realistically, you're going to need a sled to get out there several miles offshore. Sometimes guys will use the big quads. The guides that I know do not like the side-by-sides. For some reason, they don't like the side-by-sides at all. Scott Keatsman, good morning, buddy. Scott of Linwood Taxidermy, linwoodtaxidermy.com. Scott has generously donated a shoulder mount for this year's Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction that's coming up Saturday, March 7th. If you want to get involved in that, go to bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. And I might be able to pull up a slide right here, too. Let me see if I can grab one real quick. Another good event this year. Really looking forward to it. This Saturday, there we go, is a fundraiser for Brian's house. But there is our Trinity Monitor flyer for this year. Saturday, March 7th at the Great Hall in Midland. Going to be another good event. Some wonderful prizes, live auction items, silent auction items, online auction that you don't have to be present to be a part of. Go to bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor to sign up for that. Really going to be another fun event. Jerry, good morning. How are you? Paul says Mike Smith moved to Port Clinton for walleye. Mike Smith of Offshore Account? That's news to me. Roy, good morning. How are you? Roy, I look forward to talking with you for the Offshore Tackle podcast this month. Roy is talking about trolling the Detroit River for walleye in the springtime. Now, that is something that I'm pretty excited about. I'm a troller at heart. We're going to do that after we record the radio show. So, Mike, Roy, I look forward to talking with you. John, how are you doing, buddy? Tony says the month of February, we get 75 more minutes of daylight. How cool is that? Jim, good morning. TJ, good morning. Scott has his tickets. Looking forward to the catfish on the menu. Scott, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but are you going to bring some mounts in this year, or you just don't want to deal with the hassle? And I understand it, but either way, let me know if you would, please. Mitchell, good morning. Brad, how are you? Renee, finally made it out on Lake St. Clair. The fishing was slow, but you made it out there. Bill, how are you, Bill? Thanks for joining us this morning. Oh, for that weekend. He was going to do some ice fishing with him over Valentine weekend, but he said he's doing Erie now at Port Clinton that weekend. Okay. Let me send a quick text here. Okay, back with you. Captain Pananzak, how you doing, buddy? Mark says ice fishing is crazy. Does that mean crazy good? Captain Roy's talking to Captain Mark, saying get Lance out to Captain Lance to get us some ice fishing. If you can get Lance Valentine on the ice, you've done something very special. So Mark Pananzak, too, I got to talk about him for a second. Mark donated a springtime walleye fishing trip on the Detroit River for our Trinity Monitor wild game dinner. So Captain Mark, appreciate that very much. You will not find a more knowledgeable Saginaw Bay angler than Mark Pananzak. The guy grew up on the shore of the bay. He's watched the bay evolve. He's watched that fishery develop and evolve, and he's just a really, really good guy. So thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. They say Erie's over 95% ice. Rick, I'm doing wonderful this fine Wednesday morning. How are you? Bill says, how am I feeling these days? I'm feeling great. I'm not sure what you're referencing there, Bill, but I'm doing great. Mark is working on getting Valentine out there on the ice. Good morning, Jim. How are you? Dave, always a pleasure. Nice to have you along with us on this edition of Behind the Mic. Mike Avery here in the Outdoor Magazine studio, here to record this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show and the podcast version of. So much confusion these days between a broadcast and a podcast. Do you still hear it? Here's a little behind the scenes story for you. I'm in here with Jonathan Dent, and John's a young guy. And he keeps looking over here, and he said, I'm hearing this high-pitched tone, almost a squeal, almost a feedback. John, is that accurate? Okay. And he's looking over here. In fact, he's walking over here. He's looking around. He's like, where's this high-pitched tone coming from? I said, well, don't ask me because I can't hear high frequency at all. And he's walking around. He said, I think it's your hearing aid. If my hearing aids are squealing, I can't hear. But it's going to drive him crazy for the next 3 hours. Sorry about that, John. Andrew, good morning. How are you? Dan checking in from foggy North Dakota. How are... Yes, Mike Smith indeed is moving down to Lake Erie for a week. Rick, doing awesome. Thanks. Bill says, in general, after your stroke last year, Bill, I've actually forgotten I even had a stroke. I mean, that's just that's an unpleasant memory. I'm doing great. No bad signs, no ill signs, nothing at all. They did put me on some daily medicine to prevent me from having another one, which I'm okay with. If I can go through the rest of this life here on Earth and never have another stroke, I'll be okay with that. But I'm doing great, Bill. Thanks for asking. Mark says, no one has ever called me a nice guy. I don't believe that, Pananzek. I don't believe that at all. I think a lot of people have called you a nice guy. Now, are you a curmudgeon? Yes. Are you cranky? Yes. Are you opinionated? Yes. Did I say grumpy? Yes. But does that mean you're not a nice guy? Not at all. Not at all. You're one of the good guys, Mark. Okay, Scott, I can bring some big stuff to dress up the podium. I'll help knock down some of that shine off the dome. You guys are really on fire this morning, aren't you? Speaking of the dome, look at that. See that right there? It's one of the problems of shaving your head and being tall. Like over the weekend, we were working in the bathroom. My wife, Denise, wanted to retile above the shower. And, I got in there too. And of course, once I ducked my head in there, it hit. Anyway. Okay, Scott, we'll plan on that. Appreciate it. Thank you. Randy's checking in from a cold Florida. Did you see? I want you to go, when we're done here, go online and look for video this morning of iguanas in Florida. It got so cold there last night that all the iguanas froze and fell out of the trees. And now they're picking them up like cordwood. Rick thinks that's funny. Pythons in Florida, iguanas in Florida, crocodiles in Florida now. I don't know. One of those things, nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. Okay, some things coming up. MUCC's convention and Outdoor Rama is the weekend of the 21st. That's at the old Novi Expo Center, Suburban Collection Showplace, Vibe, whatever the heck it's called now. That's going to be a very, very interesting event. I'm thinking we should be able to have a conversation with the new executive director of MUCC. I think that might happen. Of course, March 7th, the Trinity Monitor Wild. John, can we schedule a day to get me and Deidre? Yeah, let's do that. And then the 14th, the Reese Adventure Club. Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack has been scheduled for April 15th. Now, I know April 15th is a ways down the road, but put that on your calendar now. Wednesday, April 15th for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack Restaurant. Okay, Brandon says Lake St. Clair is hot for perch and walleye. Fish are being caught shallow. Perch are being caught shallow. Walleye are being caught out in around 8 to 12 feet, good mile out. Ice conditions are good. Bill Hoffman, the most interesting man in Michigan, by the way, says iguanas are not supposed to be there. Turns out ice is good at getting rid of invasives. We're not going to go there, are we, Bill? We all have our thoughts on that, but we're not going to go there in this forum. The Vibe Credit Union Showplace. The Vibe Credit Union Showplace. Thank you, Joel. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that convention this year. MUCC just calls it convention. I call it the convention. Like kids call it prom these days, I still call it the prom. Not sure why that's even germane to this conversation. It's not. Don't know why that came to my brain, but it did. But MUCC's convention is where they set the talking points and the agenda for the year. They bring up, issues that get voted on, and then the group either votes to approve it and support it and fight for it or not. But more importantly, this year, I'm looking forward to that convention to get a feel for where MUCC is headed. Michigan United Conservation Clubs? Will they continue to be a voice for hunters and anglers and shooters and trappers into the future in Michigan? Will that support be diluted because MUCC needs to get more numbers? They need to get more people behind them. They need to get more membership. They need to become financially solvent, sound again. And one of the ways they're going to do that is to look for support from other groups like mountain bikers, campers, and such, which I'm fine with. I have no problem with that at all. There's strength in numbers. As long as we don't lose our support for the hardcore hook and bullet group that got us here in the first place. So I think that convention is going to be fascinating this year. I'm looking forward to it. And like I say, I think we might be able to see the new MUCC CEO. Thank you, John. That'd be a good trivia question. What are the past names of the Novi Expo Center? No, I have no agenda yet at all. Have you seen anything, Paul? And I'm actually emceeing Saturday night's event. I think what's happening is this is an event that's in flux. It's in, much like MUCC, it's in transition. So the convention itself is kind of in transition. I think it's kind of it's coming together as it comes together. Kevin, good morning, buddy. How are you? Nice to have you along with us. Mark, appreciate you joining us as well. How are you, my friend? This is Behind the Mic, not to be confused with Wednesday Night Live. I'm here in the Outdoor Magazine radio studio to record this week's show. Oh, my goodness. Charlie Rood and Jonathan Dent, both in the same studio with me. I am surrounded by broadcast icons, by people of a very high talent. Do you hear it? I'm not sure. See, Charlie's right at that age where he's young enough that he might be able to hear it. I certainly can't hear it.
I pulled it up in spectral view just to make sure I wasn't.
What's the frequency?
Right under 16,000.
I'm never going to hear that. 16,000.
Yeah, get a dog in here. Maybe a dog.
Do you hear it, Charlie?
No, I don't think I hear it. No.
John says he thinks it's my hearing aids. Now, if I cup my hearing aids, I can get a feedback.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Hear anything?
Yeah. See, it's damn you, Dent.
I'm just gonna wear the headphones the whole time, and I won't hear a thing. When you get to the age of Avery and me, then
Charlie.
Then you won't hear a thing. Pardon me for disrupting.
No, I think it's funny as can be. Okay, let me go back here. Jeff, good morning. How are you? Jupiter, Florida. Time to head out on the ocean. Is it true, Jeff Hammond? I saw some video online this morning that looked to be legit. I don't think it was artificial intelligence, AI, that it got cold enough that the iguanas froze and fell out of the trees this morning. Is that true? Is that true? Ben, did the consent decree negotiations really hinder the financial stability of MUCC? Possibly, but I think it's a much bigger issue than that because this has been coming on for a while now. Joe, good morning. How are things in Germfask? Paul says nothing, and it's concerning. I usually have an idea. There's normally something Friday night after registration, like a get-together or something, then registration again for Saturday would probably... and part of the problem, as you well know, Paul, this year, is that because there is a cheerleading camp, or thank you, John, competition scheduled for that same weekend at the hotel adjacent to the Vibe Credit Union showplace, we're not all staying at the same hotel. So there won't be that sense of, I don't want to say camaraderie is not a bad word. There won't be the ability to get together as a group and shoot the breeze over a beer afterwards. That's when a lot of the real heavy lifting gets done, as you know. Jerry, good morning. How are you? Paul said, I saw it on the news this morning about the iguanas. Randy says, yes, that's true. Oh, come on. Jeff says, yes, it's true. I grabbed one a minute ago. Jeff Hammond, will you please get me a picture of that? Get me a picture of you holding a frozen iguana. So what do you do with them? I know Renee says, my mom sent me a picture of a fallen iguana. She had, okay. So what do you do with them then? I know they're an invasive species and people, do you knock it on the head and throw it in the garbage? What do you do? That's funny as can be. Let's do Pine Knob and keep it Novi Expo Center. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Are my phones plugged back in, John?
Yes.
Thank you. So we're going to do the next 3 hours in here, and Jonathan Dent is going to be like, where is that high-pitched frequency coming from? 16,000 hertz, right?
Thereabouts, yeah.
So I'm never going to hear it, but John, who has very young ears, is going to drive him crazy, which I think is just funny as hell.
30 seconds.
I think I'm somehow responsible because it didn't start until I came in here, right, John? Jeff said we're going to smack him against the nearest tree and toss him over the fence.
10, 9, 8,
Oh,
4, 3, 2, 1.
I never told you who's coming up on the show. Taylor Pearson talking about taking trophy pike through the ice, then Ben Nielsen of Showspan. In our second hour, Tony Wint on crow hunting plus shallow water walleye trolling, then Nick Grillo of Michigan Brand Meats. And in hour number 3, Paul Phillips. We're going to talk about suppressors. Should you put a suppressor on your hunting rifle? What will that do to the accuracy? Obviously, the volume, the recoil, whatever. And then we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Say a prayer for John Dent that the high-pitched frequency does not drive him crazy. I don't know why I find that so funny, but I really do. Brent, good morning, my friend. All right, guys, we'll see you back here tonight, 7 o'clock, Wednesday Night Live. Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on great radio stations across our great state of Michigan. So glad to have you along with us. As we continue to work our way through this winter season, as you're hearing the broadcast version of the show, this is the first full weekend of February. And, it's been an interesting winter so far, hasn't it? Yeah, don't worry about it, John. We'll get it during the break. Okay, I mentioned John. I got to get to this right away because I think this is so funny. Jonathan Dent, there we go, who is with me in the studio this morning, and he's a young guy. I walked in the studio. And I'm getting set up here, and I'm doing some promos, and he keeps looking over at me. And I'm like, what? What did I took a shower? That's not it. He said, do you hear that? I said, no, hear what? He said, I hear this high-pitched frequency, this high-pitched noise. It's like a squeal or a feedback or something. It's like, no, I don't hear it at all. Now, you got to realize that my hearing is shot, and I ruined my hearing over the years. Number one, really loud music, really close to speakers in concerts, which was stupid, and equally stupid, shooting without wearing hearing protection. And I can go back to one specific incident that really caused the most damage, and I know this. We were up bird hunting in northern lower Michigan, grouse and woodcock hunting. And we had a great day. It was a lot of fun. I was up there with a game warden and a federal agent, a fish and wildlife officer. And the fish and wildlife officer had a .45. I had never shot a .45 at the time. And I said, do you mind if I shoot that? And he had a box of ammo. And back at the time, I don't think they were keeping track of every bullet that went through a law enforcement officer's gun. So he says, yeah, go ahead and shoot it. So I put a whole box of ammo through this .45, and I really enjoyed it. And still to this day, I love to shoot a .45. I love the slow push, the slow recoil. I just love the feel of a .45. But I wasn't wearing any hearing protection. So I've got a .45 in front of me at arm's length, putting a whole box through the gun. When I was done, and I didn't realize this during the time, but when I was done, my hearing was so bad that all the way back in the truck, I couldn't hear their conversation. They're sitting in the front seat, I'm sitting in the back, but I'm leaning forward to try to hear what they're saying. I couldn't hear it. My ears were ringing. In fact, I put my fingers up to my ears to make sure I wasn't bleeding. I mean, that's how bad it was. My ears were ringing. All the sound was muffled. And this went on for hours. Now, later on, after talking with audiologists, specifically Mike Stewart of CMU, he said, "Oh yeah, you can cause permanent damage from one event." And I know that one event severely affected my hearing to the point now where I'm wearing hearing aids. So going back to being in the studio now, John says, he said, "This sound is driving me crazy." And of course, I can't hear it. He said, "I think it's coming from your hearing aids." I don't think it is because I can't hear it. But okay, so just a little note, all right? Don't shoot a box of ammo through a 45 or any other gun without wearing hearing protection. I'm paying the price for it, and now Jonathan Dent is paying the price for it too. Okay, I didn't think I was going to go off on that direction today, but I did. Okay, again, going back to this is the first full weekend in February. Punxsutawney Phil. Why do we even trust that big rodent anyway? Well, we don't really trust, right? We know that it's all kind of a joke. 6 more weeks of winter. I don't think I can take 6 more weeks of winter. I got to be honest with you. But the days sure are getting longer, aren't they? Somebody was saying this morning that we gained 75 minutes of daylight during the month of February. And I feel it, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mother Nature. Thank you, Lord, for that, because we need something. Can you imagine being a deer this winter? Or any wildlife, right? This is when things get hard for critters, and not just in the UP, but across the state. It has been cold. The good news about this winter is the snow and ice. If you love snow, if you love ice, this is a wonderful winter. I'm looking at my friends out there on Saginaw Bay. Saginaw Bay is notorious for being kind of squirrely and being temperamental and not always getting good, solid, safe ice. Well, there's good, solid, safe ice this year. You still have to use your wits, right? You still have to be careful. And I always say, if you're not from the area, don't just jump on your sled and head out on Saginaw Bay if you don't know where you're going, if you're not out there with people who know where they're going. I think it's a great idea to do one of these follow-alongs with the guides, the captains who are out there running ice trips. For $100 or something, they'll let you follow them out to their fishing grounds. They're not going to babysit you like they would a full-blown charter, but they'll get you out there safely and they'll get you back safely. I think that's an excellent, excellent idea. I have not been out yet. I've got invitations. I don't know. As much as I love trolling on Saginaw Bay in the summertime, I just can't get that real excited, and going back to winter, and I'm doing a live stream right now, and Jordan Hoover chimes in. He says, it's not a hard winter that we're having. It's a normal winter. You're right, Jordan. This is more of a good old-fashioned Michigan winter, and we have been spoiled. I have been spoiled. I forgot what winter looks like. Now, when I travel back to the west side of the state, I'm kind of reminded what it was like as I was a kid growing up there and then going to school at Ferris and Big Rapids. Yeah, it's a good old-fashioned Michigan winter. And I'm about ready for it to be done. I admit it. I'm getting weak. I'm getting to be a sissy. I admit it. All right, some things coming up here. The MUCC convention is coming up the weekend of the 21st. That's in, oh boy, what is it? It used to be the Novi Expo Center, and then it was the Suburban Collection Showplace, and now it's the Vibe Credit Union Showplace or something like that. This is going to be an interesting year for that convention because MUCC, as I've talked about quite a bit here, and I will continue to talk about because I have a vested interest in MUCC. I want to see them survive. I want to see them thrive. I want to see them be the strongest voice for Michigan hunters and anglers that they ever have been. But the organization is in transition right now. I'm hoping that by the time of that convention, we will meet the new CEO of Michigan United Conservation Clubs. Get a chance to talk to that person, get a feel for what the vision is. I will continue to support MUCC as long as MUCC continues to support the hardcore hook and bullet crowd, the hunters and anglers, shooters and trappers. So we'll see. We'll see where this goes. And then March 7th, the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. This is purely personal to me. I have a vested interest in this. Trinity Monitor is my church. We've been doing this Wild Game Dinner now. This is the 9th one. This is the concept that first came up at Dixie Dave's restaurant. We were down there having a pastor's appreciation dinner. And I'd been doing wild game dinners all across the state, and I thought, why aren't we doing one at Trinity? So at this pastor's appreciation dinner, the pastor's there, elders are there, and our elder emeritus was there, Lyle Cloa, and he was with the Athletic Boosters group, and I thought this is the only group that could pull this off. And I said, Lyle, are you guys interested in working on a wild game dinner? And boom, it took off, and now it's grown. We have a live auction, we have a silent auction, we have an online auction, we have raffles, we have all kinds of just wonderful events. Go to bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor, bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor. You can sign up to get tickets. It's a really, really good event. Looking forward to it once again. Great prizes, great auction items, including a walleye fishing trip with me on Saginaw Bay, but not on the ice. That will be open water trolling. And then looking further down the road for April 15th, we're going to do a Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in West Branch. Those are always very popular. So hope to see you join us there. Put it on your calendar now. Coming up on this week's show after the break, Taylor Pearson joins me to talk about trophy pike through the ice. Taylor's one of the best. Then Ben Nielsen. Ben is with Showspan. He's going to talk about Outdoorama. I'm going to go with Outdoorama. Now, Outdoorama and the MUCC convention are in conjunction this year, cooperation with each other this year. In our second hour, my buddy Tony Wint talks about wintertime crow hunting. He's also a skinny water trolling guy. We might talk a little bit about that as well. Then Nick Grillo from Michigan Brand Meats. And in hour number 3, Paul Phillips, extreme long-range shooting expert. But we're going to talk about suppressors this time. You know, it's easier than ever to get a suppressor. The timetable for approval is quick. The tax stamp is gone. Should you put a suppressor on your hunting rifle? We'll talk about that and more with Paul. And, of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine Radio. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. So glad you're with us. I hope you can stick around for this week's Outdoor Magazine. Matt, good morning, buddy. How are you? Kevin, I did too. But he's, it is what it is. All right, my friends, I will be back tonight, 7 o'clock, for another edition of Wednesday Night Live. And we'll see you then. In the meantime, have a wonderful day.